You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning, live on fox35orlando.com, Fox Local, and also on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us today. Let's see here. We will not have that. All right. As I said on GDOX just a few minutes ago, we've been troubleshooting some things, so we are learning a little bit of what we've got and what we don't have at the moment. But we do have a lot coming up in the show today. I want to let you know a little bit of what we are monitoring. Coming up at 11:15, Stephan Sterns is due in court. He is charged in two different cases surrounding Maddie Soto, one of which he is charged in her death, the other one charged with a sexual battery. This is a hearing today on a motion to delay an upcoming suppression hearing because of, according to court documents, confidential information that his attorneys have recently obtained. Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie has the details.
Good morning. Well, attorneys for Stephan Sterns say they have just come across new confidential information and therefore would need more time to process this evidence. So they are asking for more time before the suppression hearing that is scheduled for tomorrow. Now, Stephan Sterns is the man accused of killing and sexually assaulting 13-year-old Maddie Soto in February of 2024. Sterns was the boyfriend of Maddie's mom. He is charged with first-degree murder in her death and also charged in a separate case with some 60 counts of sexual abuse and possession of child sexual abuse material. He has pleaded not guilty. The defense hopes to prevent jurors from seeing evidence from Sterns' phone and Google Drive account. They claim this evidence was unlawfully obtained, but prosecutors say he gave consent. So a hearing is scheduled for today at 11:15 a.m. to discuss whether or not to delay tomorrow's suppression hearing over this evidence. We will be in the courtroom to let you know what happens.
And here's a live look inside that courtroom. We are waiting for that hearing to start. We'll have that some more details for you coming up in a little bit. I want to get you, though, to Lake Wales, where U.S. Senator Ashley Moody is holding a news conference at the Florida's Natural Visitors Center. She is talking about Florida's citrus industry and some legislation she's filing calling the Defending Domestic Orange Juice Production Act that she says Florida's citrus industry is impacted by what she calls, quote, nonsensical overregulation. And so she's talking right now, joined by some citrus growers, agricultural leaders as well. So let's go ahead and listen in.
State, instead of litigating them, that was important, but trying to contain spiraling out of control overregulation through litigation is very difficult. Pulling it back at the root where policies should emanate from, and that is Congress, the people through its representatives, that is where that should be done and where it needs to be done, and that's why I'm proud to now be Florida's fighter in Congress doing just that. Any other questions?
Yes. Why was this standard put into place in the first place, and why has it been such a challenge to edit repeal?
Yeah, so I think in the original instance, orange juice was a very large commodity in demand, and in an effort to try and ensure that there were consumer protection standards and that you were getting the product that you thought you were buying as a consumer, all of the stakeholders had a hand in this. And I think at the time when they were dealing with the sugar standard, that might not have been the main object, but it became part of that regulation. And over time, it saw how it might have hurt the domestic growers, and so now they're trying to modify that. So there may still be some consumer measures in there outside this standard that would need to be looked at, but obviously if there's something that's there for no reason and nobody can say why that's there, it should be taken out.
Last question, please. Senator, you have an off-topic question, just one. Excuse me. You voted to confirm Secretary Hegseth as Attorney General. You had to manage sensitive information. So what do you think about him sharing allegedly classified information on Signal, and what do you think should happen to his role?
Well, I don't usually get in the business as Attorney General on commenting on allegedly. I haven't been officially briefed on that. But what I can tell you is that Secretary Hegseth came into this role and said he wanted to return the department to one that is mission focused on making sure that we were defending the security and safety of this nation, by making sure we were focused on the right things in developing soldiers and our military to be the strongest that it could be. As someone whose oldest boy is serving currently, I can tell you that the ranks were excited about that, are excited about that. There is a resurgence in pride and excitement to be a part of what our military should be, and that is a branch that is to protect this nation and the fundamental ideals of the United States of America. I know that President Trump has repeatedly expressed confidence in Mr. Hegseth. I have heard no differently, and I would ask that you direct any questions to that department.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
That was U.S. Senator Ashley Moody, the state's newest senator, who was speaking there about Florida's citrus industry. Also asked a question about Pete Hegseth. This news conference happening at the Florida's Natural Visitors Center in Lake Wales. She was talking about some challenges facing the citrus industry and also outlining some steps that she wants to support Florida's citrus farmers. We know she has filed the Defending Domestic Orange Juice Production Act, and a step that she wants to see in the U.S. Senate. This is something I'm trying to see where it stands right now. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look here. Introduced earlier this month, it is has been referred to the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. And beyond that, it is kind of just beginning its way through. So we will continue to track the progress of that. You can see revision of pasteurized orange juice standards, part of a major part of this, saying the legislation that she was actually just referring to, talking about some of these, when these regulations were put in place and how things have changed since then. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus. We are continuing to keep an eye on this hearing that we expect to begin at 11:15 or right around then. So we will take you to that in a little bit. We also, before we go to break here, also want to let you know Governor Ron DeSantis was in Naples just a few minutes ago. So we will take you there as he talked about Everglades restoration efforts, and also a special ceremony in Tallahassee today to honor 13 fallen firefighters as their names were added to the Fallen Firefighter Memorial in the Capitol Courtyard. So still have a whole lot to come here on Fox 35 News Plus. Keep it right here on Fox Local and on YouTube.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning, live on fox35orlando.com, Fox Local, and also on YouTube. Here's a live look right now inside the Orange County Commissioners meeting, where we know they are covering a number of things, including 3 big items on the agenda that we're watching closely. Fox 35's Marley Capper has the details on that.
On the table today, but let's start with Hope City Refuge Transitional Housing. Today they're going to have a public hearing to talk about rezoning land so they could build a new home. We told you back in March of 2024 that their location had to close because the building wasn't up to code. Now they're looking at building 120 transitional units, 120 emergency housing units, a drug treatment center, and some offices. To do so, they need to rezone land on Harrell Road. Next, the county wants to expand Lynx bus services. The county is expected to approve $8.6 million through the Accelerated Transportation Safety Program. The money will help pay for bus routes, more bus shelters, and a neighbor link in Apopka. And the last item we're monitoring, the county is scheduled to sign off on $29 million in funding agreements between Visit Orlando and the Greater Orlando Sports Commission. It would offset bid fees for things like WWE, UFC fighting events, and hosting the Jacksonville Jags at Camping World Stadium in 2027. So lots of exciting things here in Orange County. That meeting starts at 9 a.m. Reporting in Orlando, Marley Capper, Fox 35 News.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now. And Brooks, we are starting to settle into this warmer pattern here in Central Florida.
We sure are, Garrett. For the next 10 days, we'll see highs within a degree or 2 of 90 in Orlando. And at the beaches, as we look at Daytona Beach here, highs around are just above 80 degrees. The sea breeze keeping it comfortably cool. This is a big time at Daytona Beach. It's called Jeep Beach. It's a 10-day festival and celebration of Jeeping in Florida. Yeah, that's right. 25,000 Jeeps descending upon Daytona Beach, and it all centers around Daytona International Speedway. And if you think about all those little rubber ducks on the dashboard of the Jeeps, there's like 50 or 60 sometimes in these vehicles. That's like over 1 million rubber duckies all going to Daytona Beach collectively. And look at the weather. We'll go from 78 at noon up to 82 by 4 o'clock. Well, here's a look over at Lake Fairview. We've had high clouds today in the skies, otherwise bright sunshine, and temperatures have been hovering in the middle and upper 70s. We're going to jump today to about 90 degrees in Orlando for the high temperature, 92 in Bushnell. Notice, though, the Atlantic coast will be considerably cooler with highs in the upper 70s to around 80 thanks to the cooling sea breeze. Now, we've got a lot of burn bans around the region, and there's discussion that Brevard County, where Melbourne and Titusville is, and Cocoa Beach and Cocoa may join the ranks that currently bestow upon Orange County, Seminole County, Volusia, Lake, and Polk counties as burn ban areas where outdoor burning is prohibited because it's just too tender out there for any kind of safe outdoor burning, the exceptions being a backyard grill. Now, there's good news in the case of like needing rain. By the first week of May, we're going to get some. It looks like our blocking area of high pressure will weaken and move out, allowing for sort of a daily afternoon shower thunderstorm setup. Those daily storms typical of the rainy season, a rainy season which doesn't typically set up here until at earliest around May 25th, but typically not until the middle of June, where every afternoon you get those showers and storms popping. But we're going to get a little bit of a preview of that. The problem, and it's a problem for folks that live sort of in that like interface of the wildlands, the rural-urban interface, is that we could see more brush fires and wildfires breaking out from the lightning that is inevitably being a factor in these thunderstorms. This time of year, it's kind of ironic because you get the benefit of the rain, but when lightning strikes, it's striking such tender vegetation, such a tender box with everything being so parched that it can actually cause wildfires. Yeah, so you get some rain here coming up around, say, Monday, May 5th, but we may be also seeing a lot of fire sparking off across the region. Now, in the 7-day forecast, we got bright sunshine, highs up around 90 every day. Today's Earth Day, but a note about this drought and the wildfire threat and all of it. You know, as far as humans here in Florida, Garrett, we don't like to see brush fires. We don't like to see wildfires. We don't like to smoke. Obviously, property is in question. A lot of farming operations and you know, livestock and obviously homes that are built near the woods. But as long as Florida has been above the sea, which in a permanent fashion has only happened for about the last 2 or 3 million years, a blink of an eye in geological times, It has always burned every spring. Every spring is the dry season. Every summer is the rainy season. And during the spring, drought is common. And in fact, fires are so common and so normal here in Florida that our ecology depends on it. Yeah, there's over a dozen species of plants and animals and trees that require fire to not just survive, but to thrive. I mean, it's one thing to hang on, but another thing to actually thrive and procreate, right? One of those species is gopher tortoises. That's a protected species here in Florida, almost endangered. If the underbrush is too thick, they can't go from point A to point B to find a mate. And so fires are needed to clear out the underbrush. The long stem pine tree needs fire to clear out the underbrush so that its pine cones can get direct sunlight so that the seeds can germinate and create new pine trees. The sawgrasses, they only bloom when they burn. They burn, they come back and they bloom, and that allows that species to procreate. There's a type of jay bird. There's the eastern indigo snake, and the list goes on and on and on. Fire here in Florida is normal. The introduction of people into Florida and the expanding demand for housing encroaching into wild lands makes the wildfire threat a real threat for property and for people. So we don't like to see it, but it's as normal as afternoon thunderstorms are here in the summertime. It's always been like this, and it always will be like this. So we need to adapt accordingly. The Florida Forest Service has done controlled burns, these prescribed burns, to try and pre-burn stuff so that when wildfires inevitably happen, they don't burn completely out of control. But this is the season that it happens, Garrett, and I know we've all been kind of harping on, oh, we need the rain, we need the rain. We'll get there, but this is all pretty normal, and the more than a dozen species in Florida are actually celebrating and embracing the fact that it hasn't been raining and that fires may be on the horizon. It's kind of a funny relationship and kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, something that I wouldn't have really thought of, but just part of the cycle, part of life.
All normal.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner, we appreciate you joining us.
You got it. My pleasure as always. Thank you.
And here's a live look at downtown Orlando on this Tuesday morning. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Live look inside court in Osceola County, where Stephan Sterns just walked in for this hearing. The judge has called the court to
for the
order.
state.
This is a hearing where, on a motion to delay an upcoming suppression hearing. Let's go ahead and listen in here as this hearing gets underway.
Set this hearing on the suppression hearing, which is currently set for tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Defense, do you wish to present argument with respect to your motion?
Yes, Judge, and defense has a case law provided a copy to the state already. I'm going to give you a moment to read, Judge, or are you going to
Just a moment. These highlight the McKay factors?
Essentially, Judge, they are essentially the same for the same problem.
Familiar with the McKay factors. Thank you.
And the cases that I provided to the court are both from the state, 272 Southern 3rd 876, a 50 CA case from 2019, Turner v. State, 311 Southern 3rd 185, a second DCA case from 2020, McKay versus State, first DCA, 504 Southern 2nd 1280 from 1986, and unpublished opinion that only has a Westlaw site so far, Surratt versus State, 2025, Westlaw 1119091 from last week from April of 2025. Trocola versus State, 867 Southern 2nd 129, 50 CA from 2004. And Singer versus State, 286 Southern 3rd 343, a 50 CA from 2019. Essentially, Judge, defense is moving to continue the motion to suppress the set for the afternoon, tomorrow afternoon. And looking at the Bofo case, it essentially says that in moving for a continuance, defense just has to show that we haven't had a reasonable time to investigate or litigate the case, and that is balanced against the judicial economy and judicial efficiency in the court managing their documents, turning to the McKay factors, as well as the factors that are listed in, I believe, Turner, that looks to a defense suffering an injustice by failing to grant the continuance, as well as if the delay was attributable to the defense or if it was unforeseen. Defense would argue that the intention is not to delay the court, isn't to be derelict in our duties. Defense is moving for this continuance based off of, as the court is aware, there is the second case, and preparing for the motion, as well as in preparing the other case for trial. Defense is coming to information that at this time defense isn't in a position to be able to divulge to the court or in open court.
So your good cause is secret?
Essentially, Judge. Well, I can't in good faith at this time, being that it's still being explored. I don't know which way it's going to go, if it's going to be something that's going to pan out in favor of defense or be able to be something to be utilized in this case. As the court is aware, a death notice has been filed in the second case, and while I'm not arguing specifically as to that case, in that death notice, this case is used as one of the aggravating factors. So a conviction on this case would be one of the aggravating factors the state would potentially be seeking in the death notice in terms of the homicide case. Defense would argue that this information has come to light recently, and we're still in the process of working through it and figuring out if it's something that would or wouldn't be available in this case. If the defense were to go forward with the motion to suppress at this point, potentially would be relitigated depending on the court's ruling on that. In terms of just regular pretrial in the case, we would need to continue the regular pretrial even aside from the motion to suppress hearing, because we did an evidence viewing. We weren't able to complete the evidence viewing, and the second part of that evidence viewing is scheduled for June 11th with the state in this case. So defense essentially is moving to continue balancing the Botham factors as well as the McKay factors. Defense believes that this isn't a unreasonable request on the court in filing a motion and getting this set for a hearing, and still doing their due diligence in terms of preparing the case otherwise for trial and for the motion to suppress in and of itself.
All right. So the McKay factors, so we're on the same page, deal with a request to continue the trial. The other factors that you mentioned deal with a request to continue either a trial or a substantive hearing for absence of a critical witness. State response?
Yes, Your Honor. The state has not been in receipt of any witness list or any defense discovery in this case. The defendant in this case was arrested on February 29th of 2024. The Public Defender's Office was appointed the next day at initial appearances. The discovery process started after the information was filed on March 11th of 2024. The state responded to the defense's demand for discovery on March 20th, 2024, and discovery has been ongoing. The motions to suppress that are currently set for hearing tomorrow were filed by the defense on February 6th of 2025. There was a motion to close the courtroom on February 28th of 2025. A notice of hearing for the closure of the courtroom was filed February 24th of 2025. Upon the denial of the defense's motion to close the courtroom on March 27th of 2025, the defense filed a notice of hearing for these motions to suppress. So these have been pending hearing since March 27th of 2025. The defense filed the motions to continue. The defense waited approximately almost 2 months, a little 2.5 months to request hearing time. The hearing has been set. The state filed responses to the defendant's motions to suppress on April 8th of 2025. And then I was contacted by defense. We had a discussion about their request to continue these hearings on April 10th, and a written motion to continue was filed on April 14th of 2025. The written motion filed by defense, the state's position is vague. It is unclear whether this information is necessary for a defense, is necessary for the hearing. The motion simply states that it may affect the presentation of evidence. The state has subpoenaed witnesses. We have a significant amount of hearing time scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. The state's prepared to proceed on the motions and is objecting to the motion to continue the suppression hearings.
Thank you. Any additional argument from the defense?
Yes, Judge. Defense would say that this is necessary for the defense, even if the court were to ask ex parte in terms of to have ex parte hearing in terms of the basis for the motion. I don't believe at this point defense would be able to disclose that information even to the court, even if an ex parte hearing were requested and or granted. It's defense's position that this information is necessary to be explored in terms of the presentation of the evidence or presentation of the case, because it's defense's position that at this time the information is confidential, which is why a witness list hasn't been disclosed. Discovery exhibits haven't been disclosed in regards to it because it's still being looked to and explored. As the state indicated, discovery is ongoing, and as discovery has continued to be ongoing, so has defense's preparation of the case, reviewing of the motions, filing of the motions, preparation of the motion, as well as in preparing this case otherwise for trial alongside the homicide case. So it's defense's position that the granting of the continuance in this case would not be an undue burden on the court. I understand the state having subpoenaed witnesses. The day that I found out about the information was the same day we actually happened to have depositions, so I spoke with the state in person about it, and then sent her an email in regards to her position, and then from there filed the motion to continue, and then we got hearing times while I was in trial with Your Honor as another case, and I filed the notice of hearing as to that. Defense has been preparing, defense is preparing, and it's defense's position that denial of the motion to continue in this case would be an abuse of discretion, and we'd be asking the court to grant the request to continue.
Thanks. Well, the court's in a difficult position evaluating the McKay factors. In this case, the court's going to find that there's been significant time to prepare for these hearings. This case initiated in February of 2024. Motion was filed almost a year later. The matter was set for a hearing in March. 13 months. I'll note that this is on 24 CF 632. While the two cases are related, this does not deal with the homicide case. The court has an inability to make a determination as to the likelihood of prejudice from the denial. The defense apparently is in possession of some information, the nature of that information, the timing of when it was received, whether the defendant played any role in shortening the preparation time. The availability of that discovery is unknown to the court because the defense is unwilling at this point to share any information with the court, even on an ex parte basis, as to this information. Counsel that has been appointed to this case has the requisite skill and experience to try this type of case. Both are either board certified criminal trial experts or in the process of becoming are being certified as a criminal trial expert. The court cannot, from the information presented, make a finding of good cause, and while the defense argues it will be prejudicial, there's been nothing advanced to the court to support that argument. So the defense's motion to continue the motion to suppress tomorrow, scheduled for 2 p.m., is denied. And I'll ask the state to please have their witnesses present and ready to go.
No problem.
Thank you. Matter set for 3 hours tomorrow at 2 p.m. That will conclude our hearing.
So the hearing is over. This motion denied. Stephan Sterns walking out of the courtroom in Osceola County right now after that hearing, where a judge denied the motion to delay that suppression hearing that is scheduled for tomorrow. So that will now go on at 2 p.m. They have it slated for about 3 hours. So something that we will certainly keep an eye on tomorrow as well. You heard them talk about that, the confidential information that his attorneys say they have recently obtained. The judge said that he was really unable to make a decision on whether it might be prejudicial, as they said, and whether they might need more time because they are unwilling to divulge any sort of discussion about what the nature of that information is in this case. So the bottom line, things are going to continue to move according to the current timeline. That next suppression hearing is tomorrow afternoon. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning. Today in Tallahassee, a ringing of the bell ceremony to honor Florida's fallen firefighters. The names of 13 fallen firefighters are being inscribed on the Florida Fallen Firefighter Memorial in the Capitol courtyard. There are now 263 names on that memorial. The ceremony today was conducted to, in essence, signify a last call for those fallen heroes. Joanne Rice, who's the director of the Florida Division of the State Fire Marshal, spoke at the ceremony this morning.
It's an opportunity for us to come together and again celebrate those that we've lost. The monument behind me actually this year celebrates its 10-year anniversary. And I want to tell you a little bit about that. The monument itself represents the whole of the fire service. You will see that it represents the Florida Forest Service, the Structural Florida Fire Service, and also our EMS partners. We want to make sure that we know that we are a whole fire service, so that we are multidisciplined, and we are able to recognize all of those folks. On the shield of the helmet, there's a number, and it will be updated this year, and that number represents the number of names that are on this monument, that have been etched into this monument. This year, we'll bring it up to 263 names on this monument that we recognize and that we celebrate. So today, we gather to honor the memory of our departed brothers and sisters who responded to their last alarm. With this tradition today, we honor those who have given so much and who have served with dedication, compassion, and dignity. As firefighters, we enter this profession fully aware of the risks we will face. The dangers come in many forms: the physical hazards on scene, long-term exposure to disease, the devastating reality of cancer, and the often unseen wounds of post-traumatic stress. And every year, it seems we face new challenges we hadn't prepared for. Yet, we continue to show up. We keep serving, we keep standing together. As we reflect on those lives we've lost this past year, we're reminded once again of the tremendous sacrifices made by those who protect and serve our community. Now I would like to ask John Gatlin to come to the stage, Assistant Director, to talk a little bit about the history of the bell ceremony.
Throughout most of history, the life of a firefighter has been closely associated with the ringing of the bell. As a tour of duty began, the bell started the shift. Throughout the day and night, each alarm was sounded by the bell. And when the call ended and the alarm was completed, the bell rang 3 times to signal the end of the call. To symbolize that final call, we will ring the bell 3 times with 3 rings each, 9 rings total. With each ring, we mark the end of duty for those whose names are etched on this memorial wall. They gave their lives bravely and with honor.
Today we recognize and remember the following 13 firefighters whose names have been added to this sacred memorial. These are not just names carved in stone. They are stories, memories, and lives lived with purpose. As I call out the names, if we have a family member here, I would ask that you please rise and come to the center, or a representative, and an honor guard will escort you to the front to place a rose at the base of the monument. Rafael E. Garcia, Miami Fire Rescue. Edward M. Wadlinger III, East Manatee Fire Rescue. James P. Herrig, Boynton Beach Fire Department. Gregory A. Bradley, Tice Fire and Rescue District. Jeffrey B. Day, Pinellas Suncoast, Largo, and the Villages Fire District. Joseph J. Geld, Melbourne Fire Department. Terryson Jackson, Broward Sheriff's Office Fire Rescue. Robert G. Lowe, Jr., Greater Naples Fire Rescue District. Dwight E. Boozer, Lake City Fire Department. Andrew N. Eister, Melbourne Fire Department. Heath J. O'Shea, Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Department. Gregory J. Trammell, Tice Fire and Rescue Department. Charles N. Westfall, Marion County Fire Rescue. With the ringing of the bell, this marks their last call, their tasks complete, and their duties well done. Now I want to take a moment to honor the firefighters who carry an invisible wounds and those we've lost to them. We will place 2 yellow roses, one for those silently struggling with mental health, PTSD, and emotional pain, and one for those we've lost to suicide. Remember, you are not alone and you are not forgotten. Let today be a reminder that strength isn't the absence of struggle, it's the courage to face it together.
That ceremony this morning, somber ceremony at the Florida Fallen Firefighter Memorial in the Capitol Courtyard in Tallahassee. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us. Governor Ron DeSantis was in Naples this morning holding a news conference at the Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve. He was talking about supporting increased funding for Everglades restoration. During this news conference, he also had strong words criticizing House Republicans as well for not supporting his efforts in this. He said he wants restoration delegated to state officials instead of the Federal Army Corps of Engineers. This is something he talks about all the time, wanting block grants for the state to do it themselves. They'll be able to do it better, do it faster. Again, continuing to slam House Republicans over their budget proposals. I want to play for you this news conference just a little bit ago in Naples.
We have incredible momentum. We've had incredible accomplishments on these very important initiatives. And this is something that I've worked with leaders in both the House and the Senate for years to be able to advance. Members of the legislature, all year in Southwest Florida, all your House members have embraced these projects, have campaigned on it, and have talked about how this is something that's really, really important for Florida. There seemed to be, almost unanimous agreement that this was something that was good. There wasn't unanimous at first when I started it, but then by the time we did, people realized, because they saw the benefits and the public really appreciated that we were putting our money where our mouth is and making sure we were getting the job done. And so that brings us now to today. The legislature is currently in session, and they are working on their budget. Both in House and Senate have already submitted budget. I submitted my budget in February, and my budget called to continue the momentum of Everglades restoration and water quality. We proposed over $800 million, which is a record for that, $805 million. The Senate has basically agreed with that and is on board for what we're looking. And so I want to thank President Albritton, the member of the Senate, who stood up and said, yeah, let's continue the momentum. Unfortunately, the Florida House of Representatives has proposed a budget that slashes Everglades funding and water quality efforts by almost $500 million, almost $500 million in reductions that they're putting into this budget. They didn't campaign on that. They didn't tell you that this is something that they were going to do. They're just doing it. And a lot of the reason they're doing it is because the leadership in the House of Representatives has taken a position that if I'm for something, that it's their view to just oppose us, just in a knee-jerk fashion. Oh, the governor always gets his way. We don't want to give the governor any wins. That's kind of how these people think. Shouldn't you be doing what's right for the people of Florida? Stop playing your petty games. Stand up and do what's right. Do what the people asked us to do. Continue the momentum and stop with this silliness. They even in their budget defunded key aspects of the Florida Highway Patrol. I highlighted this last week. They wanted to slash almost 90 positions from our Florida Highway Patrol. They defunded body armor for the Florida Highway Patrol. And they did other things that will make the people of Florida less safe. And we called them on it. A lot of people were very frustrated. And with some of the members, oh, you're mischaracterizing the budget process. Understand what they're telling you. They're admitting that their budget isn't worth anything. They're admitting that all this stuff is just, I don't know if it's just fluff, is it for show? Why are you doing that? Why are you trying to defund the Highway Patrol positions? Why are you the first House over the last 6 years? They've never tried to do this before. No Senate has ever tried to do this before over the last 6, 7 years. This is what the Florida House is doing. It is not right. What they're doing is wrong. And this is one of so many other things where their agenda is not your agenda. Their agenda is not what the people voted for. Their whole agenda really represents a revolt against the voters that sent them there. All they had to do was continue the momentum, continue the success, build off what had come before you, and instead they submit a budget where they're trying to totally sabotage all the efforts that we have with Everglades restoration. And they'll try to say, oh, there's money sitting there that's not being used. That's not true. The Water Management District, and Chauncey can talk about this, their fiscal year ends at a different time than the state. It ends at September 30th. And so all this stuff is obligated. It's all being put into work. and all these projects are being moved forward. The South Florida District has moved this stuff forward quicker than anybody thought possible. It's not easy to do all this stuff, and they're doing it. So slashing Everglades restoration funding is not the right way to go about it. That's not the only thing they're doing. So last year, under the leadership of your Senator Kathleen Passidomo and my friend, she created a framework where 96% of the Seminole Tribe compact revenue would go to fund water quality improvement, infrastructure, and the continued acquisition and management of Florida's conservation lands. The deal was to basically continue the momentum that we have done. And it's not just, our momentum on Everglades restoration is great. I'm proud of it. We are leaving a very important legacy to our kids and grandkids by taking on these initiatives. But we've also created the Florida Wildlife Corridor. I mean, I don't want the state of Florida to be one big concrete slab someday. I want to be able to protect this, and Kathleen led the effort on that, and we've been able to put so much land into conservation in this really nice corridor, and it's kind of like Florida's version of Central Park. It just spans hundreds of miles, and it's good. So we've done so much stuff with this. So that was what was signed in the law. That was what the legislature passed. Now the House wants to undo that, and they want to redirect the money into just general revenue, which they'll basically use for their own pet projects. Now, when this stuff is not tended to, we know what ends up happening. You start to see the discharges have impact. You see erosion. You see all these different things that have happened. I mean, we've put a lot of resources into fortifying coastline and doing things that have really made a difference. They want to turn their back on that. So what I would tell people is that what you voted for? Did you vote to stop and sabotage the progress that we've made with Everglades restoration? And look, if that's what you wanted, if that's what you thought you were getting when you sent folks to the Florida House of Representatives, look, we can agree to disagree. I mean, that's life, right? Not everyone has to agree with me on this stuff. But I don't think that's what they told you they were going to do. I think they told you, and I think they understandably took credit for being a part of these great initiatives, and now all of a sudden in the House's budget they're just going to turn their back on those initiatives. That is not right. That is not the way you do business.
So more tension there between the House and between the governor as budget talk continue in Tallahassee. We're going to talk with Gary Fineout this afternoon. He's a Politico reporter joining us for our Playbook Tuesday segment on Florida Live. So we hope you join us at 2 o'clock this afternoon for that. One other thing we're monitoring this afternoon, Brevard County could approve a burn ban today as dry conditions continue across our area. Fox 35's Morgan Parrish has more.
Good morning. Yeah, so take a look at this county map. You can see where burn effects are already in place across central Florida. We're looking at Orange County, Lake County, Polk, Volusia, Seminole. And like you said, that burn ban could go into effect today here in Brevard County, but we're still waiting on the word for that. But like Ryan mentioned, just yesterday, a fire broke out in Palm Bay. Take a look at this video. A homeowner burned some dead vegetation, but as you can see, it was a massive fire. And firefighters, they did watch it closely to make sure it didn't get out of control. But starting today, fires like that would not be allowed if that burn ban does go into effect here in Brevard County. But people who live nearby say that they have been shocked to see all of that smoke.
We haven't had rain in so long.
Yeah, no, it's super dry out here. So, I mean, that's just, and on all of the wood and everything, it's just like, it was a fire waiting to happen, you know?
And the Florida Forest Service says that in the last week alone, there have been 60 wildfires charging about 1,300 miles. So again, just something to keep an eye out on, and we're going to keep a lookout to see if that effect does go into place today.
Something else to monitor today. We also have a lot more coming up this afternoon. We hope you join us on Florida Live at 2 and also on Fox 35 News Plus at 4 as we wrap up this morning. Going to leave you with a view from of downtown Orlando again. Actually, I'm going to show you this one. This is our Titusville camera looking toward along the Space Coast here from our Launch Credit Union camera. So keep it here on Fox Local. We've got much more to come after this.